Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Thursday, July 10th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic, albeit wet on this Thursday morning, downtown Lowell, Massachusetts. But the forecast calls for sunshine, lots of sunshine as well for the Lowell community, and probably some spillover effect for surrounding communities as well. What am I talking about? Well, that's what today's Daily Pulse is about. I'm joined, as you might have seen from that first shot of today's podcast, the empty chair. And you know what that means. Usually, I got an empty chair as a co-host. That means you're stuck with me, and I'm going to trigger you on a Tuesday or I don't know, thrill you on a Thursday or whatnot. But today we're gonna dub today's show, rather than a thrilling Thursday show, we're gonna dub it a thriving Thursday show, because I think that's what our community is going to be doing soon enough. Why am I so optimistic? I'm going to tell you in a quick second. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, or if you want that property appraised, you need to get in touch with Ray Booten today. realestaterayBooten.com is the web address. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thanks to Ray, thanks to WellPoint. We've got some other sponsors we're going to thank as well, but let's get right down to it. Why is the usually negative me, Teddy Panos? Why have I been so upbeat lately? Well, if you watched yesterday's podcast with former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras, you heard our discussion about the Frontrunner City Initiative in Lowell and the fact that an international delegation made an appearance at the City Council meeting on Tuesday night and via Zoom. And, you saw the story on InsideLowell.com, I'm sure by now, but, when the UN flag is flying as part of the visuals of the Lowell City Council meeting, that's kind of a big deal. And it became an even bigger deal yesterday for the city and also for me to a degree. You might have noticed yesterday I came in, I had a sport coat on, I had a suit jacket on, no tie, but I can assure you that once I finished the podcasting, the tie went on, because that delegation from the United Nations and a city delegation that was showing them around the city of Lowell and has been spending the last couple of days introducing them to potential projects, to developers and the university and all the great things that Lowell has to offer. Well, they had to have lunch, and they had lunch at my family's restaurant, Athenian Corner Restaurant. I know they've hit other places and are going to hit other places today as well, and I'm sure it's going to be as much of a thrill and an honor for those places to host them as it was for my family and for me yesterday. But it was really kind of interesting first there were multiple members of the Lowell City Council there. I saw Vice Mayor Paul Ratayem and John Dakota and Councilor Corey Belanger, and naturally the city manager Tom Golden and his team were there, including the assistant city manager in charge of Department of Planning and Development, Giovanni Baez-Rose. The mayor, of course, Danny Rourke, was there. I'm told that throughout the course of the day, pretty much the entire city council showed up to one meeting, one event, one tour of the city or another. So they got to meet all of them, and the ones they didn't meet, I'm pretty sure they're going to get to meet today. Congresswoman Lori Trahan was there, and a funny moment, they sat me at the table right next. First of all, they asked me to address the group and talk a little bit about the history of my family, which is really, in many ways, the Greek immigrant story in in Lowell, Massachusetts, and really the United States of America. So I talked a little bit about that, and it was, I felt a sense of pride in being able to address an international delegation, albeit for a couple of minutes. And then they went and they sat me at the table during lunch with them. And poor Congresswoman Trahan, who came in a few minutes later, she ends up sitting next to me. I'm sure the last person in that room she wants to sit next to is me, but she did. But it was fascinating to hear the discussions going on around there about Frontrunner City. Congresswoman Trahan and one of the members of the delegation had a really good discussion, a lot of questions and answers and back and forth. And I am sitting here with Congresswoman Trahan to my left, Eduardo Lopez Moreno to my right. I'll tell you a little bit about him in a second, and they're talking, and I'm just I'm soaking this all in, and I'm taking a lot of mental notes. I almost wish I had pulled out my recorder and done that, but there was a lot to gather there, and I want to get into some of that. But I do want to tell so the folks who were here yesterday that we got to meet, UEF, the Urban Economy Forum Director, Cameron Hassani Espili was there, sitting across the table from me. I mentioned Eduardo Lopez Moreno. He is the World Urban Pavilion co-director. That Urban Pavilion, you're going to hear an awful lot more of in the coming weeks and months, and maybe even in the coming days. We're trying to gather some more info. Saman Motamedi was there. He is the Urban Economy Forum head of the chair's office and senior advisor. Now that's a really big title, and he's the guy who spoke the least yesterday. He didn't talk as much as the others, and I kind of commented to him afterwards. I said, "You didn't talk much. That tells me you're the important person." And one of the counselors told me, yeah, that's the guy that makes all the decisions. But there were a couple of other gentlemen who were supposed to be there and last-minute travel hang-ups could not be there. Reza Purvaziri, who we talked about yesterday, he's the guy one of the guys who addressed the city council Tuesday night via Zoom, and he laid out, what his vision of Lowell as a front-runner city is and why Lowell was chosen. And then another gentleman, the UEF Senior Advisory Board member, Mark Keeley, was not in attendance, and they were hoping to get him here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. I'm told by Manager Golden and Mayor Rourke that's the guy that they've been kind of speaking with the most since this whole Frontrunner City initiative began. But there were a couple of interesting moments, and I want to share them with you today. And I'm also going to show you some graphics in a couple of minutes as to why I'm as optimistic as I am now about the future of this city and the current state of the city, and why that is even so much more optimistic than I have been since I've learned about Link at UMass Lowell and learned about, the Frontrunner City initiative. But as we're sitting, there's a bunch of conversations going on, lunch is being served, and people are kind of coming and going and chatting. But I'm listening to the conversation between Congresswoman Trahan. She's asking some questions like, what can we do to help from Washington, D.C.? And she's asking this of Eduardo Lopez Moreno. Literally, the two of them are bookending me, so I couldn't help but hear the conversation. And Congresswoman Trahan said, so where is this $3 billion coming from? How exactly does this money, get invested into Lowell? And my ears perked up because, first of all, it's a great question. I think I know where it comes from. And but she said $3 billion. Now, if you remember, when we first started reporting on the Frontrunner thing back in January and February of this year, when I asked one of the counselors at the time, how big of a deal are we talking about here? Is it, a couple of million, 100 million? Is it Link size? And they said to me, Link and maybe bigger. And now Link, we know the Link project, the UMass Lowell Innovation Network Corridor, is an $800 million project. So when I heard Link and bigger, I'm like, huh. And then as the days and weeks and months went by, we'd start getting Dan Rourke, the mayor, and city manager Tom Golden and other city managers to sit in that empty chair and divulge a little bit more. And eventually we were we kind of got to a place where we were talking about a 1 billion or billions of dollars worth of investment. And the number that had kind of been floating around here on the Daily Pulse podcast and Inside Lowell and on others' lips was $2 billion. So to hear Congresswoman Trahan say, so where does this $3 billion come from? Exactly. I'm like, well, the number's growing. This thing is getting bigger and bigger. And again, we all celebrated, and rightfully so, the Link Project and Draper Labs and SAKE and Home Base, not the home base that the governor uses to house people, but a home base organization that works with veterans and technology and stuff. And just this past week, the Weston and Sampson, another firm that's coming here, we were doing cartwheels to think that there would be $800 million worth of investment coming into Lowell, $600 million of which was private investment. Folks, we're now talking something double that size. If we're between 1 and 2 billion, right? Double 800 million, you've got a 1.6 billion. Congresswoman Trahan said $3 billion. We're now talking something that is potentially triple the size of Link in terms of investment into our city. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that Lowell, Massachusetts, the town that we love to pick on as much as we love it, but the town that has this negative image in surrounding communities, and thanks to High on Crack Street, the HBO documentary in the 80s had a negative image around the country, if not the world. International people would want to invest $3 billion. And that's where the money would come from. As Congresswoman Trahan asked this question, where does the $3 billion come from? Eduardo Lopez Moreno said to her, well, he explained how the United Nations, every country on the planet, every country that's a member of the United Nations funds the United Nations. He said the U.S., the United States, is the largest contributor. I think he said 22% of the UN budget is funded by the United States. Now, you got to remember that the UN is also housed in New York City, so that's part of it. But he talked about all these other countries around the world all contribute, and that money comes from that pool. He also said that private individuals who have specific areas of interest or goals, be they climate change, be they transportation, be they whatever, they also invest money above and beyond, and other countries do as well, or organizations within those countries. So, that's how they get their funding, and that was the answer to Congresswoman Trahan's $3 billion. She asked, well, what are some of the other front-runner cities? Of course, we know of Toronto. That's where the Lowell delegation went originally. And so we know that Toronto and the Richmond Hill area, a couple of the suburbs around Toronto, are the front-runner city locations up in Toronto. But Eduardo Moreno mentioned Oman. He mentioned Mexico. And he mentioned the newest one they're working on besides Lowell, Massachusetts, in Lisbon, Portugal, where ironically enough, Congresswoman Trahan said, hey, I'm going there. So, put me in touch with the people there. I'd love to talk to them. But this is a huge, 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 huge deal. These folks, these are international folks. These are folks affiliated in some way, shape, or form with the United Nations. As you noticed, if you watched the meeting Tuesday night, the UN flag next to the American flag and the Canadian flag where the Zoom meeting was coming from. These are people affiliated with the UN, with the Urban Economy Forum, with the World Bank, with the Urban Pavilion Program. Get used to these terms, folks, because you are going to have an urban pavilion somewhere in the city. And I got a hunch that's what these development discussions are about. But you will have an urban pavilion somewhere in the city. Google search that. Look at what it means. Look at what Toronto has for theirs and what it could mean for Lowell, and then try to imagine where it could end up. that's still a little bit of a mystery. But I will tell you that I'm going to they have another meeting scheduled with developers today, and I'm going to go cover it because the news is developing and breaking quickly and rapidly. I mean, again, I'm throwing a $3 billion number out there, which we didn't know about a few days ago. But you've got all these people that are now in Lowell, learning about Lowell, looking at some potential projects and investments and ideas about what they could do, and more importantly, how they can bring in global money, international money, to fund these things that will make our city a better, more livable, and yeah, I'll use the words, a more sustainable, equitable place. Because if you've got billions of dollars of investment coming in to a city, that money is going to funnel out to the people of that city in various ways. Those resources, be it money or quality of life things or amenities, that all is going to come into your city. And everybody, all 120,000 residents in the city of Lowell, and quite frankly, the people in the surrounding communities, people who may do business in Lowell or work in Lowell but live somewhere else, all of that is going to come into your city and make it a better place, a more livable place, excuse me, and a more kind of sustainable place. Lowell, Massachusetts is set up for that. So yesterday, the group, besides stopping for lunch at my family's restaurant, went and they had meetings in the morning. They had multiple meetings with the folks that couldn't make it here but are in, Zoom. We're zooming in from Toronto or wherever the heck they were. They then went on and saw some more sites in Lowell. And I don't know if they've already met with the UMass Lowell and Link officials, but that is, I know it's on their agenda today. Again, how big of a deal is this? How real is this? As some people question whether this is real. Well, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll thinks it's big enough, which means Governor Maura Healey thinks it's big enough, because the Lieutenant Governor is going to be here today to meet with the group. They're meeting later on today at 5:30. But as I said, there's a 10 a.m. developers meeting that I'm going to crash. I'm recording this bright and early in the morning. I almost feel like I'm in my radio days here. But they're meeting with people. These things are happening. They're moving. The ideas are being shared, and we're getting a better understanding of what this will mean to Lowell and to the world around it, for lack of a better term. I'm saving the best stuff for next, because I want to show you something that a couple of the city councilors showed me after everybody left and went to their next meetings, and they had some time between the luncheon and the morning festivities and their evening tour and whatnot. First, let's thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, we've already told you about Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Our friends at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. You may have noticed my Washington Savings Bank coffee mug here. It is early in the morning after all, but I forgot to bring my coffee with me. I left it at home, so just water in that mug. Thank you as well to TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on to protect its most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, they bring all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City Pirates. One more home game left, Friday, July 25th at the Tasongas Center. Get your tickets to see that game today. Also, Pirates have a big matchup on the road in Tulsa against the Tulsa Oilers, the team they're tied with in the standings for that final playoff spot. This week's game could determine your playoff standings. As a matter of fact, if the Pirates win, it it'll come very close to doing it because they'll have a better record. Plus, they'll hold the tiebreaker, having beaten Tulsa twice. If that happens, we don't want to jinx it. All right, here's the moment that I was excited. I don't want to say my jaw dropped when I heard about the front runner city thing and started to learn about what that could mean, late last year and in January. I will say I was kind of in awe watching that Tuesday night city council meeting and seeing representatives from these UN affiliated organizations speaking from a podium with a UN flag, an American flag, and a Canadian flag flying next to it. But I saw a couple of photos yesterday, and thank you to the counselors for sharing. They kind of shared them as a group, so it was long after the manager and his team and the mayor were gone. But it showed a presentation that the city has made to the representatives of the Frontrunner City Group. Potential projects, concepts, ideas, and that V word, vision, that we talk about so much, right? Vision. Who has a vision and who is able to put that vision into motion and make it become reality? And the people always ask, what exactly does Frontrunner City mean? What does it mean? And you throw these words out, well, urban pavilions, and it means investment, it means this and that, but you're like, what? All right, well, where is the money coming from? It was answered yesterday from the UN, I assume through the World Bank. That's who the UN banks with, but it's countries who are putting money in, investors who are putting money in, and wealthy individuals who are trying to enact change on the globe. Think the Bill Gates types or some of these, Arab sheiks or whatnot, who have that kind of money. But one of the counselors pulled out his little black folder packet and opened it up. He said, you got to see this, Teddy. And he started flipping a couple of pages, and I saw what, with my poor eyesight, I saw what looked like some pictures of buildings and stuff, but he settled on one page. Settled on this page. Gallagher term. Now, 8, I assume that was the 8th little project. Remember, we keep hearing about 10 projects. This whole Frontrunner City initiative is going to kick off with a memorandum of understanding and 10 projects that the city would like to see done and can hopefully get funded through this Frontrunner City initiative. So when I see that number 8, I'm guessing this is one of those 10. Gallagher Terminal, and if you look down at the bottom, you can kind of see the front of the parking garage there by the Gallagher Terminal. That little corner there is up on the Big Phil. I believe that's the intersection of Thorndike, and out on the right would be Chelmsford Street. That, of course, where the Gallagher train terminal is. You see this artist rendition, LRTA and whatnot, and Gallagher Station and whatnot. I think that's where the old Commodore was, or Mr. C's, whatever they called it. But the counselors said to me, Teddy, there's your tower. There's your glass and steel tower. And I said, holy smokes. First of all, I would never imagine, now again, this is an artist rendition, but I don't have this kind of vision. I'm not blessed with this kind of vision and leadership ability to see something that isn't and say it could be, right? One of my favorite sayings, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Is known for saying it, but I think it comes before him. And the saying goes, and I used to have this up when I worked in the TV world. I used to have this saying up on my desk, up on the wall. It said, some men see things as they are and ask why. Others see things that never were and ask why not. Because to me, that is the definition of vision, right? I'm just one of those people that sees saying, oh, why does that exist? You know, why is that corner there? Why did you put the Lord overpass? Why did you redesign it the way you redesigned it, right? I saw things as they are. I asked why. Some people saw things that never were. Forget today's Lord overpass, but you got to go back to the underpass days, and they asked, well, why not? So why not? Go into the Boston area and the burbs, drive in on 93, Assembly Row, all these places in Boston. That's what you see. They're near the train station. They're near the train line. Forever, we've heard about Lowell's transportation. We have a train station right there. This could be a hub of activity and development and bringing people in, and yet what's there? Some buses pull in and out, some trains pull in and out during the course of the day. A lot of traffic as people heading in and out of the train station, but there's a parking garage there. So why not this? Why not my tower, as I'm going to call it? There's my tower. That's what I was longing for in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. And for whatever reason, we didn't get it there. Sal Lipoli promised it, but couldn't pull it off. Sal might have left Lowell a year or two early. If I had to bet, if he stuck it out and stuck to his original plans, that could have been his tower over at the Thorndike Factory Outlet or in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. But that's not the only drawing. They also, now I want to see more, right? I don't just want to see my tower. What else is in there? So they flipped over to one other page. Let's call this baby up. And this is called, again, this is just artist renderings, but, you know, here's the vision, right? And I don't know who gets credit for this. I know Tom Golden talks a lot about vision, but everybody keeps praising the DPD director, Giovanni Baez-Rose. Is this her vision? Is this a collective vision of Lowell's DPD? People ask, what does the Department of Planning and Development do? Well, I'm going to guess now that besides trying to figure out, you know, how to get buildings in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, I think they also imagine things that never were and say, why not? All right, so I'm told this is by the YMCA, and it's that, I believe it's that Hale Street area, that parking lot that the city of Lowell grabbed as part of a little land swap with the Park Service and the to build a new garage out there in Hamilton Canal, and there was a land swapping and stuff. But I'm told this is that Hale Street area where the buses have kind of been going. But here's another, I don't know, let's count the stories here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're looking at an 8-story building with some level of a historic brick-looking facade, but glass and steel. A modern-looking building. Look, I love the mills. I love the 1800s mills. They're a big part of why Lowell is under consideration, or Lowell is a front-runner city, and why we're under consideration for billions of dollars of investment. The National Park, the history of the city, the Industrial Revolution, its continued rebirth. But if you want to be a 21st century city, or better yet, a 22nd century city, you got to have buildings like this. This is what Boston and its suburbs look like. This is what Lowell could look like, I'm going to say, because now somebody has laid out that vision. And there's, again, those are just 2 of the 10, and there might be many more to come after that. My understanding from yesterday's discussion was it's a 10 project kickoff with room for so much more. Do you see it now? First of all, I have to say, I think I was wrong. The Lord Overpass, the Big Phil, I've been shitting on it more than any human being on the planet. And I said that yesterday. I said, suddenly the Lord Overpass makes sense, doesn't it? and Councilor Dakota said, yep, yeah, do you see it now? Basically saying to me, do you see it, dummy? But while I'm pissing and moaning about the traffic and having to wait at the lights up at the little junction there of Thorndike and Chelmsford and anywhere else, somebody somewhere along the line, going back to the Murphy administration, the state partners who were involved with it, some folks had a vision. Some folks saw things that never were and asked, why not? And while we've been sitting there with that Lord overpass empty for a while, this current city council, this current city administration saw an overpass and said, well, why can't we put a building there? You hear Manager Golden talk about it all the time. Every time he sits in that empty chair, he talks about, why can't you build vertically? Building up. Oh, building up. You need housing. You don't have a lot of land. Build up. Where are you building up? You're not building up in your neighborhoods necessarily. You're not building up in Pawtucketville or Belvedere or the Highlands. You're building up in your downtown. You're building up next to your train station, the YMCA plot near the train station. You're developing like a big city does, not like a city that thinks it's big, but its mentality is more like a small town. This is vision. This is vision. And yesterday, I got to see it, which really drove it home to me. And more importantly, I had the privilege of sitting next to people that will make this vision happen because they have the resources that can make it happen. And so as I kind of, have talked about, they weren't in Boston yesterday and today. They weren't in Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or wherever. They're in Lowell, Massachusetts. They believe in your city. They have these visions. I can't imagine that they didn't see stuff like that and say, this looks like what we did in Toronto, right? Because I've seen pictures of the Toronto area that the city council toured, and that's what it looks like. The council's telling me, your neck would get sore from looking up at all these, tall buildings, but that they were new, they were modern looking, they were this, right? I mean, picture that across the way in the Hamilton Canal District, despite the disappointment we've experienced there over the last 10, 15 years, Draper Labs, one of the partners in Link, has a proposal to put forward like a 2-story glass and steel tower that looks a lot like their facility in Cambridge. If you Google search Draper Labs, Cambridge, you'll see their building. That's going to look beautiful in Lowell. It's going to look modern. It's going to look 21st century, 22nd century. Our city folks, and I know, there's some folks who say we're cheerleaders. We are. When we need to cheer, we cheer. When we need to critique, we'll critique. But I am more optimistic today about the future of this city than I've ever been before. Hell, I'm more optimistic today than I was yesterday before sitting down with the people who can help Lowell make this happen and who can help us turn this vision into reality. Do you guys see it yet? Do you see it now? Everybody who says to me, and by the way, if I had $1 for every person that said to me, yeah, it ain't gonna happen, I could probably become an investor in this. But there's this negativity about Lowell, this we can't have nice things, we don't deserve nice things, we're not worthy of nice things, and even if we wanted them, we can never pull it off. We don't have the means to pull it off. Oh, we do now, gang. And other people see it. And I'll say that in my remarks to the group there, before I started telling them my family history, which is it's the story of Greek immigration in general, but also any immigration into Lowell and America in general. And I gave them a little bit of history of the Athenian Corner and the building that it's located in, that's on the historic register, so on and so forth. I told them about some of the plans that I have for it, and I'd love to see if we can get a little chunk of that $3 billion and give Lowell its downtown hotel finally. But I thanked them for believing in Lowell. I said it's humbling that this group, that these individuals with titles of UEF chair and UEF director and World Urban Pavilion co-director, United Nations affiliated people, thought enough of your city, everybody, of my city, of our city, Lowell, Massachusetts, to say, yeah, we like it. We see it. We see all the nice things you have, and we can develop even more things and lift everybody up. Eduardo Lopez Moreno talked about lifting everybody up. When you make this kind of an investment in a community, that money brings everybody, it creates jobs. It creates opportunities. It creates amenities, recreational opportunities. All of it happens. It creates science and research and education. And they kept talking about that over and over again with UMass Lowell. And remember yesterday with Bill Samaras, I told you Tuesday night, I heard those 3 letters, MIT, Massachusetts Institute for Technology, tossed around. You know what else they tossed around yesterday? Harvard. Harvard. So imagine a city where you've got this now world-class university thanks to vision on the part of Marty Meehan. There's that V word again, right? Vision. Marty Meehan had a vision, and between himself and Chancellors Maloney and now Chancellors Chen, they've been able to put it into place, turn that, you call it a rinky-dink school. Look, it was a great engineering school. Maybe it was a great, teaching school. It was a rinky-dink college when I was there from 83 to 87. No, it was nice. It was affordable. It was great for locals. It's now a world-class university. Marty Meehan turned that in. And now front-runner city people are looking at what the university is doing and saying, yeah, that's a hub of research and innovation. We're going to invest there. We're going to make this a central thing. And not just UMass Lowell, but we're going to invite in MIT and Harvard and anybody else, I would imagine, who wants to collaborate and be there. And what does that mean? That means more jobs, more buildings, more opportunity, and yes, more amenities in Lowell, Massachusetts. Folks, I know I sound like a cheerleader, and I am. I'm as big a cheerleader for this city as anybody else. I want to see it succeed. I believe it can succeed. And I believe we finally have the leadership in place. This is why I was a proponent of Tom Golden getting an extension, because more so than any other manager that I've interacted with, he's talked about vision. Hell, he was talking about vision when he was a state rep. People with vision, Tom Golden, Marty Meehan, Giovanni Baez-Rose, these front-runner city people with vision do things that you could never imagine. They say, why not? Lowell, why not? Why can't you have this? All right, stay with Inside Lowell. Lots more to come. As I mentioned, I'm heading over to a meeting with developers and this group today, this international group. They're going to sit down and talk. Maybe I'll get some more data. Maybe I'll get some more pictures. maybe I'll even get the digital version so I don't have to take a photo with my cell phone and pop this up for you. But I imagine the digital version of this looks a whole heck of a lot better. But that's amazing. To think that Lowell is capable of that, but that Lowell will probably get that. And if not exactly that, some facsimile of it. Damn, this is a good time to be in Lowell. This is a time of optimism, of hope for the future, and a time where Lowell will, quite frankly, I believe, return to the standing it held during the Industrial Revolution as one of the centers of the world. That's my thought. If you want to be negative about it, love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your comments. There are people that up to this point have doubted this. I think there are more believers today than there were yesterday, and there were more believers yesterday after that Tuesday City Council meeting than they were the week before or the months before. These are exciting times for our city. These are exciting times to be inside Lowell. Man, I couldn't have picked a better time to start this venture. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. Tomorrow, the Pod Squad will help us wrap up the week in review here on the Daily Pulse. I'm sure Batch and Michaela will want to share their thoughts on this and so many other things. And we've even got a discussion planned around concrete sidewalks. which were a big topic of discussion at Tuesday's city council meeting. Naturally, I have some thoughts about those, as do Batch and Michaela. So that's on tomorrow's edition of the Daily Pulse. Thank you for joining us on the thriving Thursday edition of the Daily Pulse. Till tomorrow, everybody stay dry, stay safe, and I will catch you on the other side.